If someone's good to me, I'll be even better, but if they wrong me, I'll be worse. That was the one thing my dad always taught me, and until now, I lived by it. My name is Charles. I live in a small, quiet farming town in northern Texas. Back in the 90s, things were simple. Our family wasn't rich, but we got by. My dad passed away from a heart attack, probably from working himself to death. He was a cattle buyer. He'd travel across counties, picking up livestock to resell, and I stepped into his boots the moment he died. I was the eldest. My two sisters, Bonnie and Rachel, were younger, still in their teens back then. And my mom, she stayed at home. She was already pushing 60, had high blood pressure and arthritis, so everything fell on me. The land, the animals, the house, all of it. Even with all the stress, I was proud of our family. Bonnie and Rachel were good girls. Smart, respectful, not like some of the troublemakers roaming town in ripped jeans and smeared eyeliner. But Rachel, man, she was beautiful. Pale skin, golden brown hair, hazel eyes. She got her looks from Dad's side. He was half European, and that was the problem. Boys started swarming around like flies. I tried to keep them away, not because I was controlling, but because I wanted my sisters to get an education. Get out of this town. I had plans. I was saving up. But plans don't mean much when someone sweet talks their way into your sister's heart, especially someone like Brad. Brad Owens was a rich kid with nothing better to do. His folks owned a big ranch across the river. He'd come by our place almost daily, bringing food, beer, and sometimes stuff he shouldn't be bringing. Weed, pills. I warned him, told him not to bring that mess around. He laughed it off like it was no big deal. At first I thought he was just hanging out with me. We used to fish, talk about trucks, typical guy stuff. But then I caught him sneaking off with Rachel near the woods behind the farm. They weren't doing anything, yet, but I didn't like what I saw. The moment they noticed me, Rachel pulled away like a scared puppy, and Brad had the nerve to walk up to me with a stupid grin and say, "Hey man, I was just telling her how beautiful she is." I told him straight, "She's too young. She's still in school. I don't want her distracted." He nodded, said he understood. Then he added, "But we're already dating." I was speechless, torn between fury and disbelief. Brad was charming, sure, even respectful, at least on the surface, but he had a darkness to him, a slickness I never trusted. I told him to back off, focus on his own life, and maybe come back after Rachel graduated. He smiled, held up his hands like a saint, and said, "Whatever you say, Charles." But he didn't stop seeing her. Not long after that, I started noticing changes in Rachel. She was quieter, distracted. She stopped helping around the farm and spent more time in her room. One day, my youngest sister Bonnie pulled me aside, nervous as hell. "I think something's going on with Rachel and Brad," she whispered. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I saw them, together, in her room, while you were out." I felt like the air got knocked out of my lungs. Not in my house, not under my roof. I confronted Rachel that night. She wouldn't look me in the eyes, wouldn't speak, just sat there on the bed like a ghost. I wanted to scream, but I held it in. I was scared she'd run away if I pushed too hard, so I did the only thing I could. I waited. A week passed. No sign of Brad. Good, maybe he got the message. But one day, I went into town and saw him at the gas station, smirking like nothing ever happened. He didn't even look my way. I drove home boiling with rage. That night I told Rachel that if he ever stepped foot near our house again, I'd handle it my way. Then came Roy. He was another suitor, clean-cut, respectful, and smart. Rachel wasn't interested in him, but I liked him. He had a good head on his shoulders. When he came to visit one day and I explained that Rachel was already taken, he nodded and said, "That's all right, sir. I'll step back. Not my time, I guess." Compared to Brad, Roy was a damn saint. 1 month later, I caught Brad smoking weed again, this time with Rachel sitting beside him in our barn. That was it. I lost it. I told Rachel to go back inside now. Brad stood up, face twisted with arrogance. "Don't tell her what to do. She's not a kid." I stepped forward and said, "If you care about her, act like it. Stay away, or next time I won't just talk." He didn't flinch, just stared at me with cold, empty eyes. I didn't know it yet, but that would be the last time I saw Brad as a normal man, because soon, something would happen. something unnatural. And I'd learned that not every monster has fangs. Some just smile and lie. It had been almost a week since I kicked Brad out of the barn. I expected him to show up again, maybe to fight, maybe to apologize, but he vanished like smoke. No visits, no calls. Rachel sulked around the house like her heart had been ripped out, but I refused to feel bad for her. She made her choices, I warned her. But Bonnie, our youngest, wasn't done talking. She pulled me aside one night and whispered, "He came back while you were gone." They locked the door. Mom was yelling, but Rachel told her to mind her own business. I nearly put my fist through the wall. I felt like everything was slipping. My dad raised us to be strong, disciplined. And now here we were. My sister sneaking around with a burnout, my mom too sick to control anything, and me, furious but powerless. I couldn't just let it go. I drove down to Brad's house the next day. It sat on a hill at the edge of town, massive white columns, long driveway, and iron gates. His parents were old money, the kind that never had to work but still acted like they'd earned everything. I stood outside the gate and called his name until he came out on the balcony. And when he did, he pointed at me, like I was some stray dog on his property. "What the hell do you want?" he shouted. "We need to talk, man to man," I called back. Brad didn't move, just narrowed his eyes, then flipped me off. Something snapped in me. I climbed over that fence like a man possessed, but the moment my feet hit the ground, I heard the deep bark of a massive dog, and before I could react, it was charging. I barely scrambled back over the gate in time. The damn thing nearly tore my jeans off. Brad just laughed. "Stay off my land, you psycho!" That was it. The respect I once had for him, gone. He wasn't just a bad influence, he was scum. I raced home and confronted Rachel again. This time, I wasn't calm. She cried. And then, she admitted everything. They'd been sleeping together, multiple times. In the barn, in her room, in his truck, wherever they could. And now Brad was ignoring her. "He changed," she whispered. "He just uses me now." I felt like vomiting. Everything made sense. The mood swings, the sneaking around, the glazed look in her eyes. Brad wasn't just disrespectful, he was dangerous. That night I drove around to clear my head. Ended up at the park near town. As if fate had a sense of humor, Roy was there, sitting under a tree, staring into the dark. I told him everything. The betrayal, the anger, Rachel's heartbreak. He just listened. And when I was done, he said, "I've seen Brad with other girls. Same pattern. He gets what he wants, then disappears." He paused. "We need to do something about him." I didn't say yes. I didn't have to. We both understood what needed to be done. The following night was the town fair, a big event held near the farmlands. Dancing, drinks, music blaring through old speakers. Brad would be there. He loved attention. The plan was simple. Roy would lure him out under the pretense of giving him some goods. Brad's vice was always weed. He'd follow Roy out to the woods behind the fairgrounds where the trees were thick and the lights didn't reach. I'd be waiting. We didn't plan to kill him, just scare him. Rough him up. Make sure he stayed away for good. I crouched behind a tree, hands trembling. My breath steamed in the cool air. I could hear the faint music in the distance, country tunes, laughter, the sound of teenagers yelling near the bonfire. Then I saw him, Brad. He walked down the dirt path slowly, looking around like he expected a party. I stepped into the glow of a nearby lamppost. He jumped. "What the hell? Where's Roy?" he asked, voice defensive. "Not here," I said. He reached into his waistband, and that's when I saw it. A gun. He pointed it straight at me. A shiny .38 revolver. "Back off, man," he growled. "This thing's loaded. I swear to God." My blood ran cold. Before I could move, something rustled behind me. A low, snarling growl echoed through the trees. I turned just as a massive shadow emerged from the underbrush. At first I thought it was a dog, but then I saw its eyes, human eyes, glowing with a red hue. Its limbs were too long, its fur too coarse. It didn't bark. It growled like it was angry at the world. Brad didn't even have time to shoot. The creature lunged. He screamed, fired one shot, then another. But the thing was already on top of him, clawing, biting, dragging him down into the dirt like a rag doll. I backed away slowly, my legs shaking. Brad's screams turned into gargles. Then silence. I stayed hidden behind a tree, barely breathing. I could hear bones crunching, flesh tearing. It went on for what felt like hours. Then just as suddenly as it had arrived, the creature turned and ran, straight past me. I caught a glimpse in the moonlight, fur matted with blood, long claws, and a familiar blue shirt hanging from its jaws. It wasn't a dog, it wasn't a wolf, it was something else. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I stared at the ceiling until dawn, wondering if I'd just imagined it all. But when I went back to the woods the next morning, all doubts vanished. There, half buried in the leaves, was what remained of Brad. His torso had been ripped open, his face shredded, his hands curled in agony. Whatever that thing was, it didn't just kill him, it hunted him. I didn't go to the police, I couldn't. What would I say? A monster in the woods ripped Brad apart and ran off into the night? They'd lock me up before I finished the sentence. Besides, Brad had enemies. Maybe people would think it was a drug deal gone wrong. That was fine by me. Let the world make its assumptions. But I couldn't shake what I saw. That thing, its face, its movements, it was wrong. It looked like a massive dog, but not. Its shoulders were too wide, its limbs too human. Its growl felt like it came from something thinking, not reacting. For a while I convinced myself it was over. Brad was gone, and Rachel, well, she'd just have to move on. We all would. But the truth always finds a way back. It started with Roy. A couple of nights after Brad's death, I ran into him again, this time near the same park. Same bench, same quiet stare. But something was different. He was jittery. His fingers tapped rhythmically against the wood. His eyes darted around like he was watching for something. When I asked if he was okay, he just gave me a weird smile and said, "I've been sleeping fine. You?" It sounded like a threat. Then I noticed his clothes, his sleeves rolled down even though it was hot, and the way he kept adjusting them, like he was hiding something. I leaned closer and caught a glimpse of his forearm, scratches. Deep, angry-looking ones, blood, and something else, fur? No, that was crazy. I backed off, my pulse climbing. He looked at me and said something that still haunts me. Sometimes, the worst monsters are the ones who think they're doing the right thing. A few days later, Rachel found out Brad was dead. She collapsed in the kitchen, sobbing uncontrollably. I'd never seen her like that before. She wasn't crying for the man Brad was. She was crying for the version of him she thought she knew. The one who made her feel loved. The one who told her she was special. I wanted to scream at her, to tell her he used her, that he got what he wanted and left her behind, but I didn't. I just held her. And for once she let me. Later that night I caught her staring at Roy through the window. He was in the front yard smiling up at her, holding a basket of fruit like we lived in some romantic comedy. She waved back, and I felt sick. I decided to confront Roy. Not about Brad, not yet, about everything else. We sat on the porch, just the two of us. My shotgun leaned against the wall, just in case. I asked him why he was always around, why he was suddenly so interested in my sister. He didn't lie, he didn't even flinch. Because I care about her, because I know what Brad did to her, because I won't do the same. And then he leaned forward, voice low. "I'm not like other guys, Charles. I come from a different bloodline, a cursed one." I blinked. What the hell does that mean? It means I'm not fully human. Silence. Then a laugh escaped me, sharp, disbelieving. "You expect me to believe that?" He rolled up his sleeve. There, under the moonlight, his arm shimmered with fine black hair, not like a man's arm hair. This was thicker, coarser, like fur. His fingers were slightly longer than normal, his nails curved ever so slightly. I'm the only one in my family who inherited it. The others are normal. My dad passed it down. I kept it hidden. "You're saying, you're the thing I saw in the woods?" He nodded. "I didn't mean for it to happen, but when Brad pointed that gun at you, something snapped. I couldn't let him hurt you. I didn't plan it, Charles, I swear to God I didn't." I stood there, stunned. A part of me wanted to run. Another part wanted to grab the gun and end it. But then, I remembered Brad, what he did to Rachel, how he treated her like nothing, and how Roy had saved me. "Does Rachel know?" He shook his head. "She wouldn't understand. Not yet, maybe never." "And what happens now?" He looked at me, those strange, shifting eyes of his glinting gold under the porch light. That's up to you. That night, I watched him walk away. No threats, no promises, just silence between us, loaded with secrets. I knew I couldn't tell Rachel, not yet. But something inside me, something instinctive, trusted Roy more than I wanted to admit. Because even if he wasn't human, he had a heart. And Brad didn't. Life moved on. Brad's death was ruled an animal attack. A tragic accident. No one asked questions. His rich family quietly buried him and moved out of town soon after. Rumor was they couldn't bear the shame, not of how he died, but the kind of man he turned out to be. Rachel mourned him for weeks, but with time, and with Roy, she started to smile again. That's what scared me. Roy was always around, helping out on the farm, fixing fences, bringing Rachel small gifts. Sometimes I'd find them laughing under the trees where my dad used to work. At first I hated it, then, I watched how Roy treated her. Gentle, respectful. He never touched her unless she reached for him first. He asked permission before everything. One day she asked if she could go to town with him. I hesitated. Then I said, sure, just be careful. They left hand in hand, and I stood alone on the porch, chewing on the words Roy had said to me that night. I'm not like other guys. A few weeks passed. Rachel was glowing again. Mom was doing better too, smiling for the first time in months. Roy was doing well. He'd started his own cattle business, had land of his own. He even bought a small plot right next to ours, built a house from scratch, said he wanted to stay close to family. One night I couldn't sleep. I walked outside and saw Roy sitting on the porch of his new home. He looked up and waved. I walked over and for a while we just sat there sipping coffee under the stars. She's in love with you, I finally said. He nodded. I know. You gonna tell her? About what you are? He didn't answer right away. Then he looked me in the eye and said, I will, when the time is right. Before or after you marry her? At the altar maybe, he smirked. Give her something to remember. I chuckled. I shouldn't have, but I did. They got married in the fall. Simple ceremony in the backyard. Nothing fancy. Just family and a few close friends. Rachel wore a white dress that sparkled in the sunlight. Roy looked like any other groom. Nervous, happy, human. You'd never guess the truth. I watched them exchange vows, and part of me kept waiting for him to grow fangs or howl at the sky. But he didn't. He just held her hands, and meant every word he said. A year later, they had a baby, a beautiful little boy. Looked just like his mom, except for one thing. His eyes, amber, glowing, just like his father's when the moon hits just right. Roy caught me staring one day. Only one in every generation gets the blood, he said. It's in the genes, but it only shows up in one child, if any. So, he'll be like you? Someday, but he won't be alone. He smiled and patted my back. He'll have me, and he'll have you. And for once, I didn't feel fear. I felt family. Because in this crazy world, you don't always get to choose who your loved ones are. Sometimes they're human, and sometimes they're monsters with good hearts. But let me leave you with this. If you ever see something lurking in the trees, something too fast, too big, too silent to be a dog, don't run. Just ask it where it came from. It might be closer to your family than you think. Not all monsters live under your bed. Some marry your sister and become part of the family. If you enjoyed this chilling, true horror adaptation, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more terrifying stories every week. You never know which one might be true.